everyone. Welcome to the program. This is Politics Today, live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimaloye. Let's get started with what came out of the courtroom today. Perhaps one man that takes a lot of people to court and seeking for them to be put behind bars has received an unfavorable judgment from court today, and it's the EFCC boss. A high court sitting in Abuja today convicted the chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, Mr. Abdurrashid Bawa, of contempt of court. The conviction was in relation to the failure of the anti-graft agency to comply with a November 21, 2018 court order directing it to return a Range Rover and a sum of 40 million naira to a former director of operations at the Nigerian Air Force, Air Vice Marshal Rufus Ojuawo, Justice Chizoba Oji ruled that Mr. Bawa should be committed to prison at Kuje Correctional Center for his disobedience and continued disobedience of the said order of court. The FCC chairman has been reacting to these, and it seems that he will be challenging the decision of court, which is asking him to be sent to the Kuje prison. Take a listen to his next line of action.
Well, we have appealed against it already, so we will allow the natural course of the law to take its effect. Thank you very much.
All right, you heard him, Mr. Ibrahim Bawa, the EFCC boss. Now, there's a lot to talk about tonight, from the issue of ASUU strike, the decision of the federal government not to pay them the full salary for October, and the lecturers are really very unhappy. You know, they were unhappy before now, but now they are angered by the decision of the federal government even more. Tonight we dissect those issues. Then we will dig into what Governor Samuel Ortom said in Benue, which will be getting official reaction from the PDP presidential campaign tonight. The dichotomy between the governors of some governors of the PDP and Mr. Atiku Abubakar. It does look like situation also in Bauchi is needing attention. Is Atiku and his vote in trouble ahead of the 2023 election? Stay with me, everyone, but first and foremost, let's check some of your political roundup stories.
Akwa Ibom State Governor Udom Emmanuel says he is still the chairman of the PDP Presidential Campaign Council, contrary to media reports that he has resigned. Governor Udom Emmanuel described the report as fake news, as he has no such plan. He made the clarification while speaking at the official flag-off of the governorship campaigns of the People's Democratic Party in Uyo, Akwa Ibom State.
I woke up this morning to one fake news. They say I have resigned from being the chairman of the Presidential Campaign Council. I'm saying that it is not true. PDP, we have won them before, we are going to win them again.
Supporters of the presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress in Ogun State have held a 1 million man march in Abeokuta, the state capital, in support of Bola Tinubu and the re-election of the Ogun State Governor, Dapo Abiodun. The walk, which kick-started at the Moshood Abiola Stadium in the state capital, had party supporters walking across strategic streets. Addressing the crowd at the rally, Governor Dapo Abiodun urged them to be steadfast, united, and remain resolute as preparations for the general elections gather momentum.
Our party, PBC
A chieftain of the People's Democratic Party in Borno State, Mr. Idris Kalgo, has berated the governor of Benue State, Samuel Ortom, over his comment against the presidential candidate of the PDP, Atiku Abubakar. Speaking to Channels Television ahead of the flag-off of Atiku presidential campaign in Maiduguri, Mr. Kalgo says Governor Ortom's comment has generated more sympathy and support for the Atiku presidential bid in Benue State, as the people of the state are solidly behind the national chairman of the party, Iyorchia Ayu, who is an indigene of the state.
If Ortom is fighting to get Ayu out of power, is he doing any favor to the Benue people? The Benin people are strongly behind ASUU.
A federal high court sitting in Gusau, Zamfara State has nullified the People's Democratic Party fresh governorship primary election for failing to give a 7-day notice as required by the Electoral Act. The presiding judge, Justice Aminu Bapa, in his judgment, said it amounted to breach of the first defendant's PDP guidelines. The court also restrained the PDP from forwarding the name of Dauda Lawal Dare as governorship candidate for the 2023 general election. The leadership tussle between Mr. Victor Oye and Edozie Njoku, who are both of the All Progressives Grand Alliance, is far from over as the two-party chieftains continue to lay claim to the chairmanship position of the party. Addressing journalists at a news conference in Abuja, Mr. Njoku maintains that he has a Supreme Court judgment that recognizes his position as the chairman of the All Progressives Grand Alliance since the month of May this year, and wonders why INEC continues to recognize Mr. Victor Oye as the party's national chairman.
I beg the governor of Anambra State to rise to the occasion, because if we do not collectively rise to the occasion, we are going to have serious problems, starting from his own elections in his House of Assembly, Federal House and Senate, of his own state.
And the coalition of Nigerian ethnic nationalities is calling on President Muhammadu Buhari to urgently intervene in the face-off between Governor Yahaya Bello of Kogi State and the PDP senatorial candidate for Kogi Central, Mrs. Natasha Akpatu-Duagan, and save the state from an impending crisis that could impact the conduct of the general elections. The group believes strongly that the ongoing feud between the governor and the PDP senatorial candidate could throw the state into serious crisis before the general elections.
The leadership of the Nigerian Ethnic Nationalities Youth Leaders Council today is calling on President Muhammadu Buhari to call Governor Yahaya Bello and Barrister Natasha Akpatu-Uduaghan for a peaceful resolution of this crisis.
There you go. You've been served with your political roundup stories. Now, let's tell you that the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASUU, is not happy. And that union has not been happy with the federal government for several months. And their anger this time around is over the payment of half salaries to the lecturers in October. In a statement today by ASUU President, Professor Emmanuel Oshodeke, the union condemned the pro rata payment to its members and accused the government of an attempt to reduce Nigerian scholars to casual workers. ASUU had on October the 14, 2022, called off its 8-month-old strike after the National Industrial Court ordered the lecturers to resume work. The Minister of Labour over the weekend had said they cannot be paid for work not done. The Minister of Labour, Senator Chris Ngige, also dismissed the media reports that the government was biased in paying the university-led teachers. He said they were paid in pro rata to the number of days that they worked in October, counting from the day that they suspended their industrial action. Meanwhile, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, has lent his voice in that situation. He says the executive position that is not obligated to pay salaries to lecturers for the time spent on strike is premised on the law, and the government's legitimate interest is preventing moral hazard and discouraging disruptive industrial actions. Honorable Gbajabiamila says that interventions have, of course, been made to explore the possibility of partial payments to the lecturers. Let's get some legal views on this matter now. I'm being joined by Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Femi Falana. Is live with us from Ikeja area of Lagos. Thank you so much, Leonard Silk, for joining us tonight on the program. Let's get your view on what is happening. I know you're a counsel to the lecturers, and so you perhaps will be speaking with a lot of understanding of what the situation is. The premise upon which the federal government is saying they're not going to be paid full salaries because they're counting how many days they worked, but the lecturers are not happy with it. They said they've casualized their services to the nation. But what does the law say? Does the law say that you can be paid for the days you did not work?
Well, by virtue of Section 43 of the Trade Disputes Act, during strikes, workers are not supposed to be paid. but the law has to be interpreted having regards to the facts and circumstances of every strike. In this particular instance, the period of 8 months of the strike embarked upon by the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASUU, is being factored into the amendment of the calendars of the public universities in a way that the lecture that the student missed are being covered now. The students are going to write their examinations at the end of the day. It is very crystal clear that the 2021-2022 academic session has not been cancelled. In other words, the lecturers are working. The lecturers are trying to cover the period that was lost. So the doctrine of no work, no pay is totally inapplicable. Secondly, the governments of Nigeria, the federal government and state government usually ignore that provision of the law in order to promote industrial harmony. In this particular instance, once a strike is legal, at the time that provision of the law was introduced by the colonial regime, strikes were illegal, strikes were criminal offenses. It is a new regime now, under the current labor law regime in the country. Strikes are legal, and nobody has said that the strike of ASUU was illegal. Having agreed that the strike is legal, the government usually overlook the provision of Section 43 of the Trade Disputes Act. And I have said publicly, and I have expected the Minister of Labor and Employment, Dr. Chris Ngige, to challenge me, because we were also involved. My colleagues, Shifobi Sin and Femi Aborishade, were with me last year when we represent the members of the National Association of Resident Doctors. They went on strike for 63 days, over 2 months last year. At the end of the day, in spite of the strident opposition of the Minister of Labor, Dr. Chris Ngige, President Muhammadu Buhari ordered that the doctors be paid for the 2 months that they were on strike. And we're asking that the same standard being maintained by the government. Equals must be treated equally. If you pay doctors last year for embarking on strike, in this country, you must also pay the lecturers. Otherwise, the government will be accused of a selective application of that obnoxious provision.
Okay, so let me ask a very direct question now, because what the lecturers, just for a moment, Mr. Fallon, what the lecturers are saying now is about the October salary. They called off their strike in October, and the federal government says, look, our hands are tied. And you have said during the strike period that the law has provided that as long as the strike is legal, that the workers have the right to their pay. But the federal government is saying as soon as the court has asked them to go back to work, within that period, and the period in which they went back to work, they will pay them for the work done. Now, give us an understanding of how you have seen this, or how you are judging this matter on the side of ASUU. Is it a moral ground you are asking them on the grounds of law?
Now, when the National Industrial Court made this order, ASUU promptly filed an appeal and asked for a stay of the order. And the moment you are challenging the legality of an order of a court, you are not bound to obey the order. As far as the law is concerned, the order is suspended for that purpose. And that was what we made clear to the Court of Appeal. And that came out very well in the ruling of the Court of Appeal, that there are exceptions to the case of the military governor of Lagos State and Ojukwu, that once a court has made an order, whether you like it or not, that shall obey. The Court of Appeal cited the case of Mobile and Assam, where the Supreme Court has drawn a line of distinction between complying with court orders and others that have been challenged on ground of lack of jurisdiction or invalidity. In this particular instance, the Court of Appeal made the point that even though you have not treated the order of the lower court with contempt, please comply with the order if you want to file your appeal. And a special appeal was made to me by the court to persuade my clients to comply with the order. ASUU did. And we're asking all Nigerians who mounted prayer on ASUU to comply with the orders of both the National Industrial Court and the Court of Appeal to call off the strike. ASUU has played its own part. And the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, who intervened decisively to ensure that the strike was suspended. All of us have a duty, once again, to prevail on the government to stop provoking the lecturers. In fact, the most embarrassing aspect is the surreptitious move by the Minister of Labor and Employment, Dr. Chris Ngige, to pay members of the two unions that were illegally registered during the strike, even though they couldn't call off the strike. The government has concluded an arrangement to pay them. If the government does that, of course, I'm sure the government will have itself to blame. So that's why we must try to prevail on the government to do the needful. And since the lecturers are carrying out their duties,
so, Mr. Falana, and this is what the response. Yeah. Was a response of the Minister of Labor, Senator Chris Ngige. He says the hands of government is tied. It's only the court that can decide whether the lecturers can be paid for the days they were not at their duty post.
The hands of the government are not tied. And I have challenged the minister to justify the payment of all the staff, all the workers, all the employees of the government that went on strike before now and were paid their salaries during the strike. And particularly, the last case, the case of the doctors who went on strike last year, and in December, they were paid for the period of the strike. So why should the case of ASUU be different?
So what would ASUU be seeking for now? Because if they're not being paid and the federal government is insisting they're not, I mean, even the Speaker of the House is insisting that the decision of the executive in this matter is on the point of law. What is the way around this? The president also intervened at one point. On whose counsel should these prayers be tabled?
Now, the point I'm making, Sheung, with profound respect to the Speaker, right? I have referred to Section 43 of the Trade Disputes Act. Now, but applying the provision to the current situation, you will agree with me that it is totally inapplicable, because the period that was lost is being regained. ASUU lecturers are teaching the students to cover the lost ground, and so the students are going to write their exam very soon. They won't lose this section. Secondly, lecturers do not only teach, they carry out research. And even during the strike, they were lecturers were handling their jobs. They were carrying out research, and they were also examining postgraduate students. So it's not like other workers who will simply lock up the doors of offices and go home. In this instance, the lecturers are carrying out their duties. And so the period lost between February, the lectures lost between February and October are being taught, and the students are not going to miss this section. Hence, no university, no public university has announced the cancellation of the 2021-2022 academic section. And this is very, very fundamental in the resolution of this crisis. The hands of the government are being tied by the government, particularly the Ministry of Labor, that has done everything to make a mockery of ASUU. The Ministry of Labor is campaigning that this lecturer be not paid. If the lecturers are either forced to go to court, the government will lose on the ground that Section 42, subsection 1 of the Constitution is very clear that the government shall not confer any advantage or privilege on a set of Nigerians and deny same to the same group of Nigerians. So you cannot treat medical doctors, you know, who went on strike, and you cannot pay them their salary while you are denying same to ASUU. It is unconstitutional, it is illegal to treat equals unequally.
Now, I mean, you mentioned something about making up for the lost time. Well, obviously, the people that have suffered the most are the students who have been out of classrooms for several months, for 8 months. And if you compare them to private university students, they've lost a lot of ground. How can they then make up? Because, I mean, those who are in 300 level, when those lecturers were on strike, would have moved on to the next level. They're probably in 400 level and preparing to graduate. Those of them who are in private universities. There's really a lot of lost time, Mr. Falana, isn't it?
No, the period that the session has only been extended. The session has not been cancelled. And mind you, the students also have to bear with the lecturer, because the lecturers were not fighting for increment in salaries alone. They were fighting for the revitalization of the universities, for which the National Assembly is proposing, or the government is proposing a budget of 170 billion naira to revitalize our comatose institutions. So the lecturers were not fighting for them. They are fighting for the country. They are fighting for the society. They are fighting in the public interest. The students, in fairness to them, appreciate this. And that was why it was impossible for the Ministry of Labor to play up the students against the lecturers. They were together, they were united in fighting for a just society where universities will be properly funded.
So now, I mean, there is a lot of effect. There are implications of even the ASUU strike, which is within the education sector of the country, and into the larger picture of the polity and the state of affairs of the country right now. On this matter, what do you think is the way forward? Because we should not be considering only now. We should be thinking about the nearest future. How can things be changed? What do you suggest the way forward?
Seun, it is for members of the ruling class, including those who are campaigning all over the place, to address this matter rather frontally. It is not in the interest of the country for lecturers, doctors, and other workers to be forced to embark on perennial, regular strikes in the country. The government has a duty to address the problems that lead to strike. And our courts must also take cognizance of the facts and circumstances of every given strike, so that the orders of court can be fully complied with. Both sides, both the government, both the employers and the employees, must be called to a roundtable conference all the time. And that is why the National Industrial Court has an arbitration chambers to promote, industrial peace. But what happened in this case was that the minister, did not take this matter to the industrial arbitration panel. It went straight to the National Industrial Court, and that was what prolonged the strike. So if we are going to stop strikes, the government must learn to follow the provisions of the law by embarking on mediation, arbitration before going to the National Industrial Court. And that is, if mediation and arbitration fail, that is the provision of the Trade Disputes Act. But this time around, the government did not follow due process.
Mr. Farano, let me take you out of the premise of that education and ASUU matter. You were at one of the events of the Labour Party with the labor unions. And let me first and foremost get clarity from you. Are you aligning yourself with the Labour Party and its presidential candidate?
Shehu, I thought we were discussing the ASUU
I've
strike.
rested it.
But on a
I've
very
rested
serious
it.
note.
I mean, I've asked you a closure question on it, so I moved on to a general state of the nation discussion.
I was invited to a program in Abuja by the Nigerian Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress, the promoters of the Labour Party. I was invited to a program where the Workers' Charter of Demand was going to be presented to the Labour Party. And I gave my speech on that occasion. And I made it abundantly clear that the Labour Party cannot be organized like the bourgeois parties in the country. If this is a Labour Party, you must go out there and mobilize the masses of our people, because you cannot contest on the same terrain with the bourgeois political parties, you know, and that was my position. And I'm reinforced in my commitment to the socialist reconstruction of our country. I haven't seen much of that in the campaign that is going on. There is no way that the current peripheral capitalist system can take Nigeria out of the woods. We are in trouble. We're in trouble.
Yeah. Do you endorse?
And you need a revolutionary change. A revolution.
Yeah, because I know you perhaps, I mean, you're a rights lawyer, human rights lawyer, and over the years you have friends across the political lines and colors. Are you endorsing Peter Obi? Because I know you also have friends in the APC, perhaps in the PDP
I have
too.
Not.
But
no.
Are you endorsing Peter Obi? What is your stand ahead of this presidential election of 2023?
I have not endorsed any candidate. And if I'm going to do that, it doesn't have to be a matter of, you know, I'm not going to make it a media affair. I have already made it clear to you. The least I can embrace is the adoption of Chapter 2 of the Constitution by the political parties. And I haven't seen that, because Section 224 of the Constitution prescribes that the aims and programs of every political party in Nigeria shall reflect Chapter 2 of the Constitution.
So which of these parties, Mr. Falana, aligns with that position that you have held on that matter? Which of the political parties? Does the APC, Tinubu, PDP, Atiku, Peter Obi, Congress or NPP, or which of them aligns with this?
You see, I don't want to go into personalities, but I've made the point abundantly clear that as far as the Constitution is concerned, Section 14 provides that the security and welfare of the Nigerian people shall be the primary purpose of government. Section 16 provides that the management of the economy of Nigeria shall be fully in the hands of the government, not in the hands of the private sector, which is the campaign of most of the political parties. That same section provides that the wealth of our country, the Commonwealth, shall be equitably distributed to promote the happiness of our people. I haven't seen that in the ongoing campaign. And so my position, therefore, is that the only political system that can guarantee the implementation of Chapter 2 of the Constitution is socialism. And that is why I am campaigning, I am working for the socialist reconstruction of Nigeria.
All right, let's conclude this conversation because we are totally out of time, Mr. Falana. But if you may, please kindly help me adhere to a 20-second or 30 seconds to answer this question. It's a very quick, fast, and a very sharp one. And the question is, what would you be saying to a lot of Nigerians out there about how they need to make their decision of who becomes Nigeria's president in 2023?
No, come again.
So I wanted you to help me answer this question just in 20 seconds. And the question will be, what would you say to millions of Nigerians, perhaps those who respect your voice as a rights lawyer and a senior lawyer in the land, about how they make their decision, who they should go with, who will meet their yearnings ahead of this presidential election of 2023?
Yeah, thank you very much. All of us, majority of Nigerians, have come to the irresistible conclusion that the status quo will have to be dismantled. That this system cannot guarantee peace in the long run. Therefore, we should be looking for an alternative political system that can address the crisis of underdevelopment in our country. This country, our nation, remains one of the greatest nations on earth, one of the richest countries on earth, but we are made poor. Our country, our people are made poor by the kind of socioeconomic system, the peripheral capitalist ideology that the members of the ruling class have imposed on our country. If we are going to move out of the mess, and that is what has just happened in Brazil, where the people of Brazil have voted for Lula again, who is the only president in the last 50 years that has seriously combated poverty and taking people out of poverty.
Thank you so much indeed for your time tonight. I appreciate it. Mr. Femi Falana, rights activist and senior advocate of Nigeria. Thank you so much indeed for your thoughts tonight on the program.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much indeed.
Thank you. My pleasure.
We'll take a break, everyone, and when we return, our attention will be on the People's Democratic Party and the internal crisis that the party is battling with. Is Atiku Abubakar in trouble? I mean, some governors are not happy, obviously, but there is a statement made by Governor Samuel Otom. We'll be getting official reaction on that. Senator Dino Melaye, spokesperson of the PDP Presidential Campaign Organization, will be joining me next on the program. Stay with me, everyone. We'll be right back. Staying with us and welcome back to the program. It appears that the crisis in the People's Democratic Party, PDP, is deepening the more. It's no secret that the 5 governors that are not happy or aggrieved in the party, including governors of Rivers, Oyo, Enugu, Abia, Benue, are not supporting Atiku Abubakar campaign organization. But it appears the governor of Benue State is not even taking things lightly at all. Governor Samuel Otom says anyone supporting Atiku Abubakar presidential candidate of the PDP is his enemy. Well, he was quoted to have said that on Sunday when he hosted his colleagues, Governor Yinson Wike and co in Makurdi, the capital of Benue State. Governor Otom was quoted to have said, quote, "To hell with," well, this is strong words anyway, "to hell with Atiku and any other Fulani man, and any man supporting Atiku and all that he's an enemy. I want these to be known. As long as I am governor, they should go and tell him, you want me to be a slave for a Fulani? Anybody supporting Atiku is an enemy of Benue," end of quote. Governor Otom had recently tackled Atiku Abubakar, who he accused of profiling the Fulani people living in Benue as bandits and terrorists. Well, let's get some official reactions on this matter, which the People's Democratic Party Presidential Campaign Organization seem not to have taken lightly. It doesn't look like it's sitting down well with them. And tonight I'm being joined by the official spokesperson of the PDP PCC, Senator Dino Melaye. He joins me live here in our Abuja studio. Thank you so much, distinguished, for joining us tonight.
Yeah, good evening, Nigerians.
Are things falling apart for your party? 5 governors of your party have openly said they will not support. In Bauchi, there are leaders of the PDP that are saying they will not also support Atiku Abubakar. What has things gone wrong for the man who says, oh, I am the unifier, but that unification title seems not to have worked magic here? What is going on?
Anyway, I want to start by disagreeing completely with you that there is an outrageous crisis in the PDP. Yeah, there are disagreements. And I want to say that Atiku is a unifier. He remains a unifier. The statement by Governor Otom is quite unfortunate. And when I mean unfortunate, I mean very, very unfortunate. And before I speak on Governor Otom, I also want to disabuse your mind that it is very good we don't take... we don't inhale beer parlor talks about the governor of Bauchi or any disagreement between Atiku Abubakar and the governor of Bauchi State. It's not true. They were together this afternoon. they had a very good meeting this afternoon, and the pictures and photographs of the meeting is already everywhere in the social media.
I have the pictures.
And I'm telling you that if you allow me to just react to it, so that
yeah. So go ahead, please.
And I'm telling you that there is no cause for alarm. Governor of Bauchi State himself refuted all the unnecessary commentaries on social media, and some carried by Sahara reporters as fake news. So I will not belabor myself with those statements. But I want to say that...
So just before you move forward, so that those who are talking or those who are following the incident, they're not taken for a ride and they're not being fooled by whatever is happening. The issues are your issues in your party, and for Nigerians who are watching and trying to make a decision of the next president cannot be taken for a ride. The governor of Sokoto State and the DG of your presidential campaign organization and the chairman of your party were in Bauchi State over the weekend. And the governor of Bauchi is in Abuja today meeting with Mr. Atiku Abubakar. So were these meetings just for the basis of visitation or what?
Sheung, I know that you are a very smart, intelligent broadcaster, but I don't think you have the celestial powers of reading people's mind. The governor of Bauchi is a member of the Presidential Campaign Council, and the same governor of Sokoto State has been in 3 states in the last close to 1 week. Doesn't mean there are crises in all the states he went to. So the truth of the matter is what I told you and what the governor of Bauchi himself confirmed today, that we should stop listening to liars and people who just want to disparage the party and create confusion where there is none. And I've told you that we are one family. You know, the meeting I held today is not just at the instance of one governor. You can see that members of the PCC and some selected leaders of the party were there. But coming back to the issue of the statement by Governor Tom, to start with, Governor Tom is a Christian. And the commission, the Great Commission by the Almighty God and the Bible is that go ye and preach the gospel to all nations, baptizing them, and even, he said, even to the utmost part of the world. So the responsibility of every Christian is to depopulate hell and not to populate it. So it is unfortunate, it is ungodly, it is not celestial for any child of God, a Christian or Muslim, to be praying or heralding people to hell. So it is a very unfortunate statement from Governor Otom. Secondly, the same Governor Otom also accused Atiku Abubakar that he has not been to Benue State to commiserate with them over the flood, you know. But I think that one, I would just say that it is deliberate, what I call deliberate amnesia, because Atiku Abubakar was in Benue to he paid official visits to the governor of Benue in February this year. And that visit took him to the IDP camp, where he did not only commiserate with the people and government of Benue State, he contributed a whopping 50 million naira to the government and people of Benue State, which Otom, as governor, appreciated at that time. So that is not correct. Thirdly, the governor also made a statement where he appropriated the Fulani attack on the people of Benue on Atiku. That is the most ridiculous thing, because for me that was myopic, that's porous, that's parochial, that's intellectually stagnant, because you cannot arrest a kidnapper, maybe of thief extraction in Abuja, and say because he's a thief man or because he's an Idoma, then you lay the blame on the governor of Benue State because he's the political head and governor of Benue State. So I cannot just oppose, asking Atiku to take Panadol for another person's headache. So to me, that is ridiculous, because going back memory lane, Shagari's government produced 4 Benue indigenes as ministers. Show Shagari government. We had Paul Unogo, we had Isaac, we had Elizabeth Ivase, we had Audu-Ogbe. 4 Benue indigenes in Shagari's government. Again, the late Yaradua's government also produced Andoka
as Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice. Both Shagari and Yaradua are Fulani people. They are of Fulani extractions. But they promoted the indigenous of Benue in their government. Again, the governor may not know. We have Fulani Christians. We have Fulanis who are bishops today. We have Fulanis who are priests, evangelists, and pastors today. So to completely criminalize a section of the country because of the misbehavior of some, I don't think it is okay. The governor of Benue State was not fair at all to Atiku Abubakar. He was not fair at all to Atiku Abubakar.
Let me ask
and
you,
before,
Mr. Melai,
if you allow me to just wrap up this thought. You see, basically, for you to come out and attack Atiku in the manner you have done, completely asking that you criminalize a whole section of a country. I think Governor Tom, in good conscience, needs, because it's an ungodly attitude. Governor Tom will need to go and apologize to God and apologize to Atiku Abubakar, because Atiku Abubakar is known as a pan-Nigerian. Atiku Abubakar, not even witches and wizards in Nigeria, will accuse Atiku Abubakar of religious bigotry or ethnic jingoism, because everyone knows him to be a friend of all, irrespective of ethnicity or religion. And this problem that Otom is talking about is not going to be solved by accusation and blame, because everything he has done so far have not reduced in any manner the killings in Benue.
All right, just in a moment, let me allow you to listen to this very sound bite from Governor Otom from that particular event. But the question that I would like you to also consider is that you've been talking about Governor Otom. This is not the first time he's accusing and attacking Mr. Atiku Abubakar. Beyond any political fight that we see in the public, there are the undercurrent. What do you think? And I'd like you to be truthful to my viewers tonight, because I mean, it's not a very popular thing for politicians to say exactly the way it is. But tell us tonight.
I beg your pardon.
No.
I beg your pardon.
Mr. Melaye, can you tell us tonight what could be the undercurrent?
I will not lie for any reason.
No, that's why I'm asking you, that you should speak truth to Nigerians tonight and tell them what exactly is the undercurrent. What is going on beyond what we are seeing on the surface?
Let me tell you that I can tell you plainly that a bitter heart gives no charity. The issue is beyond, okay, for example, all the 5 governors said their problem is ASUU, that ASUU should resign. That is what they have portrayed as their basic problem.
So Governor Tom's problem is different from the rest.
I'm coming. You know, they said ASUU should leave. That is their problem. Then one of them now have come out to say, I will not support Atiku. I will not support Atiku. In fact, anybody supporting Atiku is an enemy. That's what Otom said. So you now know that the problem now, that the import of that statement is that even if today ASUU leaves, Otom will not still support Atiku. That is the import of that statement.
So you think that Atiku Abubakar was right not to have supported ASUU leaving?
What is the role of Atiku Abubakar in ASUU leaving or not? To start with, my brother, these governors brought ASUU without Atiku's consent or approval. ASUU is a creation of the governors. Governor Wike is responsible per se for the coming of ASUU, while Governor Tom was the guarantor. The ASUU is their product. That's why there was no contention. That's why ASUU was a sole candidate. That's why there was no competition. There was no body that contested. By the time ASUU was coming, were they thinking ASUU is from Abia or ASUU is from Enugu State or from Ogbomoso? They knew ASUU is from the northern part of the country. So I would not want anybody to hinge their complaint because ASUU is not Atiku's son, that he will say, go and sit down. So for you to now ask Atiku to take Panadol for another person's headache shows an insincerity of purpose, of heart and commitment. But above all, I want to tell you that by the grace of God, at the end of the day, we may not get everybody together. We cannot even get everybody together. But I want to tell you, even some of these governors are still going to work for their party. If you see in Benue yesterday, when the rally was going on, in Benue yesterday, you saw Gabriel Suswan, the immediate past governor of Benue State, before Governor Wike and the other governors, before autumn, he made it categorically that they are going to support Atiku, they are going to support the party from head to toe. And you saw also Senator Abamoro, who is representing Zone C of Benue State, also said it clearly that ASUU is their son and they will not disgrace him.
Let me ask you, Senator.
Even one of the governors yesterday, one of the governor of Abia, when he was talking in Makurdi yesterday, he also made it clear that they should support APC from top to bottom. He did not segregate. So I'm telling you that it's a domestic. They should support PDP from top to bottom.
Let me ask
meaning
you,
that he is ready to work for the party.
Senator, you've mentioned Panadol and headache a few times. I don't know if are you an investor in that company? Because that's a joke. But the question is that there is a major headache. On a normal day, your party will jostle for votes in any state. Now, there are 5 states that are not sure for your party, even with the fact that you have sitting PDP governors. And the governors have said they will not support the presidential campaign of Atiku Abubakar. This state may not go in the way of the PDP. I mean, that's the fact. Is your candidate in trouble in this state?
I want to say that it will be very fallacious for you to think that because a governor is not with a candidate, he will lose the state. I think you are still casting your mind back to the days where people sit down and write results for states. We are not in that era any longer. With the advent of beavers and electronic transmission of results, no governor is, I mean, in Rivers State, for example, Governor Wike is not the custodian, or he is not to appropriate the votes of Rivers.
So without Wike,
this time around,
without Wike,
I'm coming.
is going to win.
I'm coming.
Is that what you're saying?
I'm coming. Allow me to say what I want to say. You know, if you now go to election as it is now with the present electoral reform, the grassroots matters, the electorate matters, the youth, the women matters, and that is why Atiku is speaking directly to the conscience of electorates. I'm not saying that leaders are not relevant. I'm not saying that governors are not relevant, but I'm saying that we are in a new era where Atiku is crusading, evangelizing directly himself and Okowa to the people directly. And I'm telling you that that mentality of thinking that a godfather somewhere or a regional champion somewhere will determine the way people will vote, or there's a warehouse where these votes are already kept and only one governor or leader have the key. That era is gone.
Let me ask you quickly, Senator. You mentioned about the fact that Governor Wike was, per se, those are your words, that he was the one who brought Mr.
He was
Ayu.
one of the champions.
Yeah, and you said that Governor Autumn was the guarantor. I mean, I was going to ask if there were evidence, maybe they were written or there were agreements in that.
What I'm saying is that
my question,
Ayu is from Benue.
If you may allow me to ask the question, the support that Ayu got was because they thought your party will zone the presidency to the south.
Let me tell you this, that it is not correct. Because
that's what the Governor Wike and the rest have said.
But that I'm telling you that it is not correct. Because if that is the case, then a southerner, most of the southern, why did southern governors support a northern candidate? If it was sacrosanct that all the southern governors wanted to go to the south.
But is it fair for your party?
I'm coming. Why were some southern governors, understand? So why did some southern governors support a northern candidate? That answers your question.
But is it fair for your party that you have a northern candidate and you have a northern chairman of the party? This doesn't happen in your party.
Let me tell you this.
It goes the opposite direction.
It is not true. It's not happening for the first time. We had Nwodo, Obasanjo. We had Ogbulafo, Obasanjo. They were all from the same South. And let me tell you, you cannot use APC's clock to tell the time of PDP. You can't.
Is it the time of
because
PDP
our manifesto?
matters,
Because our manifesto
or the balancing in the nation?
The ticket that
the
won that,
atmosphere
the ticket
of
that
unity
won,
and balancing
the ticket
in the
that
nation.
won that presidency is important. And no party, no individual will preach the issue of unity or protection of the northern or southern protectorate of this country to the PDP. Nobody can.
So your party does not care in the general picture of the politics of Nigeria.
You cannot preach that to us because we are very conscious of that.
Is your party in isolation
you can
of the general politics of the nation?
You can only begin to appropriate positions when you are in power. You cannot be talking of power when you are not. You cannot even be sharing power when you are not in power. You can only share power when you get to power. It will be idiotic. It will be stupid for you to start sharing power even before you get to power. You have to capture power first before you now start sharing it. So we as a party, we balance everything in this country. Atiku as a person is a very compassionate, considerate person. No part of this country will be ignored. No religion, no ethnicity will be ignored. Atiku already told Nigerians that he's going to have a government of national unity that will cure insecurity, that will cure this. The APC have told us that they are, in fact, Tinubu specifically said in 6 months into his government, the issue of insecurity will be over. And we are saying that they have about 7 months now to the end of their tenure. So let them borrow 6 out of this present 7 and cure the problem of insecurity. Because only Atiku will unify this country. Only Atiku will cure the problem of insecurity. Or Tom should also support Atiku so that Atiku will solve the problem of insecurity in Benue State and in every part of this country for that matter.
There will be a lot of hurdle for your party to jump over, because for those who think that Labour Party will probably take most of your votes.
There's no cause for alarm, and I don't really. Labour Party is like Andrew Liver salt in water. Bubbles, and after some time, I mean, it's temporary evaporating.
So
you are beginning to see it.
Peter Obi is not a threat to Atiku.
I laugh in local language.
Senator Dino Melaye, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I was asking you what the full form of Dino, but you were not able to tell me earlier. But thank you so much indeed. We'll talk about that after the program. Thank you so much, Senator Dino Melaye, official spokesperson of the PDP Presidential Campaign Organization. Well, that's our show for tonight, everyone. And thanks for watching. I'm Sean Kimbalwe. God bless Nigeria.